Live from the mist-enshrouded mountaintop fortress that is X and Y Communications headquarters, you're listening to the world-famous Mountaintop Podcast. And now, here's your host, Scot McKay.
How's it going, gentlemen? Welcome again to yet another episode of the world-famous Mountaintop Podcast. My name is Scot McKay, at Scot McKay on Twitter, Parler, and now on Clubhouse as well, gentlemen. If you're there and gotten the invite, see you there. And also Real Scot McKay on Instagram, Scot McKay on YouTube. The website is mountaintoppodcast.com. And as always, I invite you to join us on the Mountaintop Summit, which is the Facebook group for like-minded men of character who want to have a great woman in their life. With me today is a new friend of mine. He is the founder and CEO of a new app called Filter Off, which is video speed dating. And you guys haven't heard the term speed dating in quite a while, but 2020 did some strange things to us, and I've been looking around at this app, and it's pretty cool and actually very powerful and intriguing, especially if you're a single guy looking for hot women to hang out with. So I invited my new friend Zach Schlein on to talk about dating and relating in 2021 and going forward, because, this has been one of those years which we've just put into the rearview mirror, and people are kind of hoping for a bit of a change and perhaps looking a little bit optimistic towards 2021. So welcome, Zach. We're happy to have you on the show, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so first of all, tell us a little bit about where you and Filter Off stand relative to what is in the past with dating and relating and the disaster, of course, that was for most people out there compared to what you see for 2021. What's your outlook on it, man?
For 2021, I mean, the pandemic is not ending anytime soon. So virtual speed dating will continue to be very, very strong, and people that have never done it before will step into it and try it out because their friends had so much success. And that will set you up for post-pandemic, where I still believe virtual speed dating will still be extremely strong, given that it's just an awesome way to connect and see if you have chemistry. So video speed dating post-pandemic will still remain extremely strong, given that video is the best way to efficiently get to know your potential romantic lover.
Well, I'm a little surprised, I have to say, Zach, to hear you say that you don't think things are going to change anytime soon. Because at least in my neck of the woods, people are excited about getting a vaccine and reaching this herd immunity where hopefully things will turn back to normal pretty soon. At least in their minds. And also, people are just flat out straight up fed up. I mean, my wife and I had to go somewhere this morning that was run by the government, and a law enforcement officer met us at the door to, shake us down, make sure we didn't have guns or whatever. And he was wearing a mask around his mouth and not his nose, and we see that everywhere. The elevator on the way up said there's only 2 people allowed in this elevator for social distancing purposes, and 12 people piled on and nobody complained, And I see it everywhere I go. More and more people are going to the grocery store without masks on. And if someone has the temerity to ask them, then, to confront them with it or even ask them about it, they say, oh, you know what? I have a medical exception. Go away. So there is this uprising of people who just aren't going to take it anymore. There's talk about, hey, you know what? In a secular humanist world, if politics are the new religion, then COVID seems to be the hellfire with which the minds are being controlled. And people are getting good and sick of it. And also people are lonely and horny. And my wife and I talked about this dynamic on a recent show, that it's really a lot like grown adults having the ability to inject a little bit of naughtiness and taboo into a situation, the likes of which we have not seen since we were all back in high school, sneaking around at each other's houses after school before our parents came home. So people are still out there having sex. They may talk out of one side of their mouth, oh no, I'm not going on any dates. I'm not seeing anybody. I'm just doing the video dating thing. But once they find someone who they connect with on Match, they're secretly getting together and with great delight screwing each other's brains out, but not telling any of their friends, lest they be accused of, say, killing their grandmother or something. And listen, as a dating coach, I know this stuff's going on. So meanwhile, there are a lot of other people who want to play by the rules and want to do the video dating thing and are talking online. But what are you going to say to convince people that, hey, even in 2021, no matter what your feelings are, no matter what you're really doing out there in the real world, that this is a good way to, first of all, meet someone where maybe you didn't have that opportunity before, and then hopefully make something non-virtual of it and actually meet someone real and in the flesh from it? I mean, what would you say to those two ideas?
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. We're all grown adults. We all make our own decisions. Whether you want to... Yeah, I mean, whether you want to be just video dating or you actually meet in person, that's up to you. I'm not going to tell you one way or the other of what to do. You're all an adult. You can make your own decisions. But taking a step back, the beauty of video dating first is you really get to understand who that person is. Because what really sucks is, imagine if you took them out and you bought them drinks or potentially dinner. Oftentimes you'll realize that you don't have any vibe or any chemistry like a couple minutes into the date. Maybe you're not attracted, or maybe their mannerisms turn you off, and there could be a slew of reasons. And that's why video dating is just so powerful, because you get to see that instantly.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. I mean, we've all met that woman online who absolutely misrepresented herself, and it got awkward really, really quickly. Some people are habitually misrepresenting themselves. And with the advent of the apps, one can filter their pictures in any such way to make them look like a goddess. And really, it doesn't look like that person at all. But it's great for the dopamine rush of collecting a bunch of likes and making yourself feel like, oh my goodness, I'm popular. You like me. You really like me, a la Sally Field, when 500 guys have swiped right on this woman and she's misrepresented herself to all of them. But never mind that. She's not going to end up going out with any of them anyway, because she's really just there to collect the likes. This is a different whole paradigm, correct? You're actually getting people ostensibly into a video chat room environment, sort of, as a speed dating element. I'll let you go ahead and riff on explaining it and what exactly goes on. But what it's like is not having to get all gussied up, take a shower, and get in your car, pay for the gas, go somewhere only to be disappointed. For lack of a better way to put it, you can get the disappointment over and done with up front quickly and easy and move on, I guess, to another event by you or someone else, or, just click it off and say, I'm done. That's a good thing. It saves a lot of time, right?
Mm-hmm. It saves you time. It saves you money. And no one wants to go on bad first dates. And exactly what you had shared. It really is the new paradigm of dating, given there is no swiping. Like, you attend an event that interests you, whether it's in your area or maybe it's part of your community, whether it's like a religious institution that's running an event or your Facebook group, whatever it may be. So you're meeting like-minded singles and you're just hopping on video dates that are quick, and a number of them, because this process does require numbers. You may not meet the woman of your dreams right off the bat.
Okay, so talking specifically about Filter Off, which of course is your unique app here, how do you group people? How do you decide who gets to be in which speed dating virtual event, as it were? Is it based on what their interests are? Is it totally random? How do you do that, Zach?
Yeah, so when you join the app, it's you give your location. So if you live in Miami, for example, you'll see the Miami date night, that event, but you may see other events that are private events hosted by different communities or organizations. So for example, maybe there is a religious institution in Miami that's running an event for their members. You need a code to join. So it's just for that community. So we run lots of different lifestyle events for nonprofits, events for different organizations, and then also these like public local events as well.
Well, I'll tell you, these guys know, if they've listened to this show for any length of time, that I am not a huge fan of eHarmony, because I have never been a fan of the marketing gimmick they have. And I think that's what it is. You tell us who you are, fill out this entire spectrum of values and preferences, and we'll tell you who you're attracted to. In the early years, at least, they wouldn't even show you pictures until you connected with someone. And invariably, it was someone you weren't attracted to. And the other thing that really, really was awful about eHarmony is when you said, hey, you know what? I live in San Antonio, Texas, or I live in Poughkeepsie, New York, or wherever you live, and I really like to only meet women within, say, a 20, 30-minute radius of me, they would challenge you with emotional appeals like, what? We're talking about your soulmate here. Why in the world would you limit meeting your soulmate just to a mere 20 minutes when there's an entire nation out there where that one and only woman for you might be? And it's like, all right, okay, fine, I'll bite. Go ahead and give me the entire United States. And then the first 3 people they send you, because they only send you 3 people at a time, are all in Sacramento, California, and Seattle, and, Bangor, Maine. And so it's good news to me that, first of all, you've recognized people's right to stay within their own metro area and actually communicate with people they have a chance of actually meeting in real life. Correct?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a good analogy, it's like when you go to the bar, right? Your buddy introduces you to someone and you already have that trust with them because it was like a mutual friend. But if you meet someone cold, then you may not have that connection or trust. And that's kind of and that's the same way of how community works. You have that common connection. Maybe you both love, maybe you're both Catholic, or maybe you're both love the keto diet. You could join and create these sorts of communities and join and just meet other singles that are also passionate about this.
In other words, you could meet people who just lost 100 pounds like you, and once they're comfortably in a relationship, will gain it all back together.
Whatever way.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
Even if what's floating our boat is a whole lot of ice cream, right? All right. So anyway, I'm saying this lovingly from experience. I've just lost 50 pounds myself, by the way. So I'm not hating, I promise. And I'm not gaining it back either. It's been over a year now. Even over the holidays where I've about 7 or 8 pounds creep back up on me. I'm already back on that draconian keto diet because I don't want it coming back. Yeah. I got a few years on you too, bud. You wait. It doesn't get any easier. That's all I have to say. All right. So I get on Filter Off. Is it one big Zoom call and it looks like the audience at an NBA game and everybody's just going ooh-ha at each other and it's chaos? Or do you get paired up with one person at a time? Or what is it? What's going on here?
Yeah. So when you join Filter Off, it's iOS, Android, and web is coming out shortly. You'll see events, like I said, in your area. You RSVP. You confirm your attendance, and then we schedule you up to 7 dates based off your age preference and gender interest. And once you join the date, you are put in a 3-minute speed date. And at the end, it'll ask you whether you like each other or not. And then your next date begins. And then at the very end of the event, you'll see if you have any mutual matches where you could then message them or hop back on to another video call, all on the platform.
So are you asked by like the voice of God afterwards if you both like each other, or is this discreet after you kind of get off the video with each other where you weigh in on it?
Yeah, so that at the end of each speed date, Filter Off will ask you whether you like each other or not. So they won't know your preference, but if it's mutual, you both like one another, you'll be entered into a match, and you could see that match at the end of the event.
Okay, good. So it's discreet. Nobody's put on the spot. That's good. That's good. Okay. And then you basically cycle through 7 times 3 minutes and you get the opportunity to say which one of these women you connected with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, do I have the ability on Filter Off to actually filter anything, or are you taking great pride in sticking to the name and not filtering anything or anybody? Because I think the first question a lot of guys are going to ask is, what if I don't want to date, say, trans women? Am I going to not have any trans women paired up with me unknowingly? Because, that's a nightmare for a lot of guys, even given the PC environment nowadays. What say you?
So we also have a matchmaking service that you could opt into. So when you join Matchmaker, it'll ask you different questions. And we take into account all your preferences, whether it's gender interest, radius, your interests, college education, different education level, whether you have kids, things of that nature, your fitness level, and it pipes into our algorithm to give you 3 curated dates daily.
Oh, I see. But it is a free-for-all if you just do the core service of Filter Off video speed dating, correct? In other words, these are questions you'd have to ask on your own with the 3 minutes you're given for each individual you're actually dating, right?
So if you join an event, it takes into account age and gender, but oftentimes the events that you're joining are community-based. So everyone has, again, like that common interest. So we run religious virtual speed dating events, interest-based virtual speed dating events. So they have that common interest as well. So I wouldn't call it a free-for-all. I would say more a city event, like let's say if it's just a generic city event, that's a little bit more random because the only thing that they relate to is the specific city they're part of. But that's why we really believe in like the power of community, and community facilitates trust and connection.
Now, I have to tell you, I haven't heard a whole lot about speed dating per se in years, Zach. Mm-hmm. So this idea of having remote video speed dating events is a great idea that has been obviously driven by smartphones and thanks to readily available, inexpensive bandwidth. I mean, let's face it, right? Yet, in my mind, the idea persists that I have not heard a whole lot about speed dating lately, and I don't think I have ever in 15 years met anyone who successfully found someone they were attracted to who was the love of their life through conventional sit-down speed dating. It's been generally passed off as very gimmicky. Now, that said, I'm not putting your feet to the fire here because I think this sounds a little bit different, almost as if it is a good candidate to help resurrect the branding cachet of speed dating, as it were, because we do have a pandemic going on. We do have people who are very skittish about meeting in person. And as AT&T used to say, I'm dating myself here, it's the next best thing to being there. In this case, it really, really is. You get to meet someone with the masks off. So at the risk of looking like I've gone from being a skeptic to one of your biggest fanboys, and instead of 3 sentences, I'm just trying to be fair here. If you go to the grocery store, if you go to the bank and deposit some money, if you go out walking your dog in the park, people are all behind masks right now. The opportunity to actually see what these women look like is rare. So if you have a purpose-built opportunity to interact with women in real time without masks on, that's actually an advantage given the culture out there right now, correct? Given the situation socially.
Yeah, and it lets you show off your personality. Maybe you're not like the best looking dude and you just don't do well on swipe apps, but the beauty of Filter Off, it's no longer about your profile photo. It's about you.
So even though someone may be saying out there 3 minutes, man, what am I going to do in 180 seconds? The quick and dirty answer is a hell of a lot more than you can in one stinking over-filtered profile picture and 2 sentences on Tinder or Bumble, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, good. All right. So what are the rules here? I mean, can we get naked in 3 minutes if we're crazy, or, are there some levels of propriety that are enforced? There's no filter and filter off ostensibly. So, where are the boundaries?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't suggest getting naked. You'll probably get reported. But I think the beauty of the app, it's tied to your phone number and email. And when you have like your identity tied to it, you're also more responsible on apps, and you're not as like ridiculous versus like a chat roulette, which is, I mean, I don't know if you've seen or heard of chat roulette, but it's a lot of people taking out their dicks on camera, but because it's all random, like it's not tied to any email or username. You just hop onto chat roulette and put in your username and it's random. So I think the beauty of Filter Off is it really just allows you to be you, but it also, we don't have those issues of people just doing inappropriate things. However, if you wanted to run an event, like a fetish type of event or a nudist type of event, and you run an organization such as that, yeah, bring people together. And you could run on Filter Off. Like, we don't discriminate. Like, it's for all people, all sorts of kinks, religions. It doesn't matter. We just want to facilitate love.
So you could run a swingers club lounge.
Yeah, if you're a swinger. Yeah, if you're a swinger and you run a swingers community, yeah, invite everyone on and run that event 100%.
Have you ever seen the South Park episode where it's basically about chat roulette and the boys are trying to, get online and meet people, and it's all a bunch of guys trying to take their dick out? Have you ever seen that episode?
That sounds so spot on.
It's one of the ruder, harder to watch episodes, if that's actually possible, in the South Park universe. But my wife thought it was very funny. Interestingly enough, I thought I knew my wife's sense of humor backwards and forwards, and she was the one laughing at that episode a lot more than I was. So go figure. Well, I'm really intrigued. And I have to tell you, it seems like this came along at exactly the right time relative to the pandemic, because apps are just not working. Okay, people are sitting at home. The men are just getting their rocks off watching porn. People have decided, you know what? This whole gig where we go out and meet and have real sex and actually interact with each other, it was kind of overrated. It's a lot less expensive and a lot less potentially disappointing to just sit home and wing it or not do anything at all and, live virtually here. And that, to me, is a sad commentary on where we are socially, that the new normal is people are kind of settling in and saying to themselves, hey, you know what? Sheltering in place, DoorDash, Uber Eats, this is the good life. So for those people who are stuck in the middle between being complete deniers and storming the Capitol building and saying, hell no, I'm not going to wear a mask. Come on, honey, let's go upstairs and screw, even though we've known each other for 10 minutes. And the people who are just absolutely so scared for their lives and so politically correct or whatever you want to call it, that they're just not even going to go outside and check the mail. I'd say there's probably, 99.8% of us stuck in the middle there who would really like to meet someone if we did it responsibly. And it seems like this is the opportunity. And I'm with you on this in that I don't think it's going to go away. Now, looking towards the rest of 2021 and beyond here, and as we release the show, we're about a week in, right? Ultimately, I think people will want to go out. They will want to meet. They will want to relate. I do think that the vaccine is going to matter. I do think more and more people are going to start being fed up. I think a lot of young people in particular are going to look around and say, look, this isn't going to kill me, and I don't have a grandmother to go give it to because, I haven't been able to visit her for a year anyway. And people are gradually going to start opening up and meeting each other. We are in the dead of winter, so things have spiked. Back around the end of summer, early fall, at least here in Texas, people were starting to be very optimistic about going out again and things were opening up. But, woe is us. Lo and behold, the lockdowns happen again. So there's this frustrating cycle associated with COVID-19. But, once Valentine's Day happens and March comes around and the flowers start blooming again, tra-la, people are going to want to go out. They're going to want to meet. And they will meet. And what I'm envisioning, based on everything you've talked about so far, Zach, and I want you to comment on this, is this idea of filter off, video speed dating, will be another arrow in your quiver. It will be a viable option, perhaps the utility of which is, hey, I am going to save myself the heartache of a billion disappointing first dates with women who misrepresented themselves on Tinder and Bumble, where I had to beat my head against the wall just to get one of them to actually go out with me. And instead, I'll be able to cycle through a whole lot of options very quickly and pick and choose the women I really would like to connect with and will connect with, even in her mind also, because it's a mutual match. And the actual meetings I have with women I have met online will be higher quality from the get-go. And I don't think there's a timeline on that. I don't think there's an expiration date for the value of that. Agreed? Of course you agree, but go ahead.
No, I agree. I just think people are more conscious daters nowadays. They don't want to waste their time. And the video first mechanism allows you, like you said, to see whether you think they're fit. The other day, for example, I was going to meet up with this woman and I ended up FaceTiming with her beforehand and I realized it was not a fit. Literally in like a minute, I just wasn't into her. And I ended up ending the FaceTime and then I ended up texting her after and I said, you're very sweet. I just don't think it's a fit. I just don't want to waste my time, but I also don't want to waste her time. And I just see video as the way of connecting humans. One thing that you have seen nowadays, a lot of dating apps are introducing the video component. But what's interesting, though, is they're still in the old paradigm, right? So when you're on these other apps, you're still swiping and you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to video chat. And that's the difference, the fundamental difference with filter off. It's video first. You get to see whether you actually vibe with this person.
I think that's extremely valuable. And yet, at the same time, I'm going to respect where some of these guys listening to the show are coming from. Not all of us, Zach, have this iron self-esteem. Not all of us can saunter our way into a video chat room with 7 women over the next 21 minutes with complete confidence. So there is at least one guy listening to this show going, oh, sure, I'm going to go and make a fool out of myself 7 times in 21 minutes and get rejected by 7 more beautiful women and feel horrible about myself afterwards. What would you say to those guys? I mean, what's the trend been in that regard? Because frankly, when you just said, hey, I talked to a woman on video and I knew within a minute she wasn't for me and said, no, thanks. Guys are thinking, that's what's going to happen to me. Only the shoe's going to be on the other foot. So guys are seeing that more as, perhaps a bug than a feature or a benefit. You know what I mean? No. So what say you?
Yeah. So video dating does take vulnerability, right? Like people don't like to be rejected. And when you're on a dating app, a typical swipe app, you get rejected probably 99% of the time, but you don't feel it because they're not actually seeing that person. They're treating you as a profile. The reality is when you meet on a first date, you probably have those nerves as well. She may not be into you or you may not be into her. But I guess the question to ask yourself is, do I want to meet up with women and lead to lots of bad first dates and spend lots of money and waste a lot of my time? Or do I want to play the smarter game? And yeah, I may be nervous. I may get rejected, but at least I will continue to build my confidence. Like anything, it's a muscle. It takes time to feel comfortable being on video with another person, but it's just the smarter way to date.
I think that's a solid take. And what comes to mind is kind of a twist on a very, very old, centuries old quote, which is, it's better to have met someone and lost than to have never met anyone at all. If you're sitting around going, oh, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit around here and, whack off to porn and try to somehow feel good about that when I could have gone out and actually been vulnerable in a good way, right? In a brave way, and met someone. You miss all the shots you don't take, according to Wayne Gretzky. And according to me, you miss every woman you never meet, right? So at least you're being given the opportunity to go out, get some reps, and see how this works. And frankly, if your experience has been anything like mine, and you're the head honcho of this particular operation, so I'm sure you'd have more to say about how it really works in your universe over there at Filter Off. But I've noticed that, all of the fear mongering about women rudely rejecting us as men, they're still human and most of them mean well. And even if they're not into you or you're not their type or it just isn't a good fit, which may or may not have anything to do with you personally at all, right? Guys listening to this, that's true. Women aren't going to be mean and rude. They're not there to be mean and rude. And if they are, there's something the hell wrong with them and you're dodging a bullet by not ever being in their world.
Totally agree. Most people are in the end just friendly and they're just trying to meet someone.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, if you want to get in someone else's worlds, it's kind of up to you which neighborhoods you hang out in, right? By the way, do you guys have some kind of kitschy, brandy way of talking about your actual events? Or are they just events, or what do you call them?
Yeah, we just call them virtual speed dating events.
Keeping it simple.
Yeah, it just is what it is, right? And to just go back on the other point, if you do feel nervous, you could always create your own event for your own community. So you have that thing in common, right? You often feel nervous when you don't know what to say. But let's say you love Dungeons and Dragons and you create that for your community of all Dungeons and Dragons lovers. Like you're going to meet other women that are also passionate about it. So you have that common connection. You just talk about that. So what it comes down to is just live into the fear. And that's what being a man is all about. Just taking that leap of faith and
leading.
Yeah. We've created 4 marriages on Filter Off. And I had someone reach out to me the other day who said, listen, I've been using OkCupid, Coffee Meets Bagel for years. And I tried to assess women and it just fails over and over. It never works out. I literally joined one of your events. He joined the Jewish speed dating event. He ends up going on 7 dates. He said 5 were meh. 2 worked out really well. 1 became his girlfriend. And that's like what it's all about, is just connecting, and you could potentially find the love of your life and get married too.
Fantastic. How long ago did Filter Off open its doors? Virtually?
Yeah, so coincidentally, we got out of beta 1 month before the pandemic, and then we really took off and then got a lot of coverage. New York Times and BBC. Yeah, so it's been pretty crazy.
Fantastic. So yeah, that was fortuitous. Yeah, I'm thinking, my quick tip here, just off the top of my head, is if you're a guy, go out there and craft your own events and word them for people who are easygoing or think the way you do or aren't going to be likely to be easily offended people who hate men and are awful feminists and are out there trying to reject people and have mental problems. Just weed those people out with the name of the event that you're putting together. I think that would work. And I think the whole idea in general is fantastic. So I want to go ahead and send these guys directly to Filter Off by going to mountaintoppodcast.com/filter off. Matter of fact, you can put filter or filter off. If that's too many characters to type, just make it filter. I don't think we've had that guest on yet either. So filter or filter off, which sounds kind of ironic because they seem to be opposite of each other. But either way, mountaintoppodcast.com, filter or /filter off. And so, Zach, when they get there, what's the procedure? How do they sign up? How much does this thing cost? Can they kick the tires for a while? What's the deal?
Yeah, so you install the Filter Off app, iOS, Android. Web is coming out very, very soon. And
that's going to be glorious, by the way, with big screens.
It's going to be awesome. You no longer have to hold your phone for this whole event. Yeah, it'll be really nice. And it's totally free. And it's free to run an event. You could even sell tickets for your event. So we really just try to make it awesome for daters, or if you want to bring in some revenue, you could do that as well.
There's entrepreneurial opportunity within Filter Off. Sounds excellent. Yeah, guys, head on over there. I mean, why the heck not? What else are you doing right now, right? www.mountaintoppodcast.com/filter off. Zach Schlein, entrepreneur par excellence, co-founder and CEO of Filter Off. Thank you so much for joining me today, my friend. It's been a very illuminating and I think perhaps challenging conversation that's going to give guys some new insight into some new and exciting ways that we can get out there and meet women again, because that's just got to happen this year. So once again, thanks again, Zach. Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much for having me, Scott.
And guys, listen up. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. I'm not. 2021 is here. The new normal will have to involve actually getting out there, meeting with women, relating to them, getting to know them, attracting each other, and yes, procreating. Otherwise, if it doesn't, well, the entire human race will die out in just a few decades. And we certainly don't want that. So what you want to do is go out and meet more women. You can check out Filter Off. You can also go to mountaintoppodcast.com, click on the button in the upper right-hand corner, and we will talk together about your new normal. Now, look, guys. Here's what I am now offering every time you guys get on my calendar and we talk for 25 minutes. I will give you what's known in the biz as results in advance. You come with the particular challenges that you're facing, and I will guarantee you that over the course of 25 minutes, I will give you at least one action item that you can use to be better with women right now. And yes, we can talk about your future. We can talk about perhaps putting a plan of action together to take you from where you are right now to where you want to be with women. But it's all there for you at mountaintoppodcast.com. Click on the red button in the upper right-hand corner, and I will promise you results in advance when we talk for 25 minutes. Also, while you're there, visit the guys over at herosoap.com. Not only do they give a portion of all of their revenue to wounded warriors who need our help because they've served our country gallantly, and now it's our time to get back to them, but you will also get the best smelling, most effective, healthiest, and also, here's something I don't talk about often, longest lasting soap and body wash you will ever try. Some of the scents are absolutely amazing. Peppermint and cool will wake you up in the morning. They have one called the Woods, which is just manly. That's the only way to talk about it. So go to mountaintoppodcast.com/hero soap and enter the code MOUNTAIN10 for 10% off with every order. As always, we also want to thank Jocko Willink and the team over at Origin in Maine, who make the absolute best jeans you are ever going to wear. They still have an all-natural, very powerful, very soluble D3 supplement. And if you haven't heard, gentlemen, D3 is an excellent prophylactic against getting COVID-19. So that's just a random smattering of all the incredible manly stuff they have over for you at Origin Maine, which you can check out by going to mountaintoppodcast.com/origin, ORIGIN. And once again, you can use Mountain10 as the coupon code there as well for 10% off. And until I talk to you again real soon, this is Scott McKay from X and Y Communications in San Antonio, Texas. Be good out there.
The Mountaintop Podcast is produced by X and Y Communications. All rights reserved worldwide. Be sure to visit www.mountaintoppodcast.com for show notes. And while you're there, sign up for the free X and Y Communications newsletter for men. This is Ed Roy Odom speaking for the Mountaintop Podcast.